welcome back to Life Lessons from a Neanderthal podcast here with your host, Gary Hickman. And thanks for joining us again. If this is your first time, hey, I got one podcast already done. You might want to go check that out first because we're going to be kind of we're going to be hitting on some a few topics from the previous podcast because we have some questions. So you might want to go check that out first. But if you've checked that out and you're back here for a second helping or another round, I appreciate you guys sticking with me. And I hope you're finding this entertaining and fun and maybe a little bit informative. So if you guys could just send me a email or something, just let me know how you're enjoying it, and again, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions for the podcast. So you can do that. I'll have it on it'll be on the description, in the description field on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube and you're just listening to the podcast, you will see it's neanderthallife.podcast@gmail.com. neanderthallife.podcast@gmail.com. So send me drop me a line, let me know what's going on. Let me know what's going on with you, and I appreciate it. All right, so real quick. So if you look at the shirt I'm wearing, and those of you that are listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but it says, "Do not give in to the war within." And so it's, wrong way. Let's go this way. It's say no to veteran suicide. And so what that is it's the Till Valhalla project. And so unfortunately, 22 veterans a day commit suicide because it's too tough for them to, maybe they're just tired of fighting their demons and stuff. So, so give to the Till Valhalla project. You can go online. It's tillvalhalla.com, I think, and whatnot. So you can check that out, and you can donate, and you can get yourself one of these shirts. And they also have the silicone wristbands, so we can prevent awareness of veteran suicide. And to be honest, I support this with veteran suicide because obviously I'm a veteran and it's near and dear to my heart. But this also goes for anybody that's dealing with any depression, PTSD, domestic violence, child abuse, any of that stuff. Reach out, and if you're hearing this and you want to reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to talk with you about it. I've done that quite a few times in the past, so reach out. Okay. So enough of that. Although it's a really good project, and think about donating to it. Okay. So let's get into the podcast. So I had another topic. I was going to do another topic, but I got a email from a woman named Diane, and Diane knows who she is. And Diane, I appreciate it. She had said that she enjoyed the podcast, the first podcast, found it entertaining. I also said I'm a little cute for an older guy. You know what? Hey, you know what? Diane, I'll take that. I'll take that any day and twice on Sunday. So it's not like I'm trying to get a date anyway. So I'll take that. Oh, just real quick. So yes, I was able to talk my wife into coming on the podcast. So she said, "Go ahead and run this one." So next week we're going to have my lovely wife Wendy will be on the podcast with me, and I'm looking at some different topics. I'm going to pick one specifically for that, and I'm on the microphone. Let me push it back. Okay, so let's get into the podcast real quick. So Diane sent me the letter. So this is stemming off of last week's podcast where we're talking about man hurting and so forth and so on. Diane's question was, Are there any good men left out there? Um, and I thought about long and hard how I was going to answer this question, and I still don't know how I'm going to answer it. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I'm on the backside of 50, and as we all know, older people seem to think that the younger generation are a pack of idiots. I could tell you that these these young people coming up, man, oh my gosh, they're dumb as a bag of hammers. I'm sorry. And I understand that the world is shifting into, less manual labor, into more computer, and more into thinking type. Well, I mean, not that you don't think when you're manual labor, but you know what I mean. And so you get people who have totally shunned anything that you maybe would have picked up a skill or something back in the day. Now I know that like I said, times have changed, and people are different nowadays, and times are different and everything. But you at least got to be able to, I don't know, throw down if it needs to, even if you're going to get your ass kicked, even if you're willing to do that, But there's so many of the young people now, and the young guys, they're like, I'm sorry, but they're bitches. They're straight up bitches. I mean, they're crying every 5 seconds about something. Now, don't get me wrong. Let me tell you something. There's this myth that men, especially like say my age and stuff, are insensitive. That's not the case. We just don't cry every 2 seconds when a tissue commercial comes on. All right, but that doesn't mean we're not sensitive. It doesn't mean that we can't, feel empathy or sympathy or compassion. Just means we're not, knitting a quilt every 5 seconds and crying at every Hallmark card commercial. So are there good? So I'm taking it from Diane's when she called me, a little older. She didn't, of course, tell me her age, and I'm not going to ask her, but I'm taking it she's a little bit younger. All right, maybe in her late 20s, maybe 30s. She could be in her 40s for all I know, but I'm going to go with around the 30s, give or take. So she wants to, so are there any good men left? Well, I guess it's somewhere you were. Now, granted, there are sprinkling of dudes everywhere. All right, so you're gonna find you could find somebody, like even at a bar. There's still some decent dudes at a bar, but unfortunately, your odds of finding a good dude at a bar are few and far, slim to none. And even if you do, even if there are a couple good dudes at the bar, you got to go through the jackasses, rednecks, power drinkers, and all just straight up morons to even get through them. So the odds aren't in your favor. So bars are kind of out. Now you can go and find a man at work. Now I'm going to tell you, give advice. Do not date at work. People at work. It never turns out well. It never does, hardly. You might get 1 or 2% to come out, with some kind of relationship. But usually, now if you're like, let's just say if you're in a huge corporation and there's like 20, 30,000 people, and you work in, I don't know, IT, and you're dating a dude up in finance or something or whatever, you might be able to get away with it. That might be okay. But usually, especially with smaller companies, or it just doesn't work out that way. So now you got the people in like in my field, which are, I'm in the IT field, computer, software, fiber, this, that, and the other. Now, people in my field, first you start out with the nerds. All right, you got the nerds that they're making good money. Now, they're making great money, but your quality of life is probably not where you're going to want it to be, because if you're dating a lot of these guys, then your weekends are going to be spent LARPing or looking, going after Pokemon cards or playing D&D, and if that's not your deal, well, there you go. So that may not turn that may not turn out well for you. Then you have the other side of the coin where I work, is you have the dudes that they're all cookie cutter. They kind of all look the same. They got their hair gelled or pomade or whatever the hell they're using nowadays. They got their hair gelled and they're wearing a suit that obviously looks like it's 3 sizes too small. Right? I don't know where this trend came from, where we're going to wear skin tight suits that barely fit. What is that? Right? And so they have these pants, and there's these tight ass pants, and they got no ass because they're not working out or anything, but they got these tight ass pants, and the pants come down to maybe their calf. All right, so they're skin tight and they're short, and then they're wearing dress shoes with no socks. Right? Let me tell you something, fellas. Nobody wants to see your Sasquatch legs. Okay, nobody wants to see all that hair sticking out of that leg, from those pants. It's gross. Nobody wants to see that. And equally disturbing is seeing the guys who shave their legs. Now, I'm going to tell you, the first time I saw a dude, when he had these short-ass pants on, and we're in a meeting, and he crossed his legs or whatever, and I see a dude with shave stubble on his legs. Come on, bruh. I mean, seriously. Well, first I was thinking, hello, Frisco. All right. Come on, man. Shaving your leg. Dude, come on, man. Please. It's just not, it's not good. It's not good at all. All right. I gotta move these wires because they're getting on my nerves. Let's bring them to the front. All right. That feels better. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. So, yeah, shaving your legs, dude. All right, come on. We're not doing that. So then that gets into my, the kind of guy you're looking for. So let me put it to this way. I forgot to say, I covered the guy wearing with the Sasquatch legs and wearing his little brother's pants. It's not a good look. I don't know where that trend came from, but anyway. So, Diane, are there any good men left? Yeah, there is. They're just going to be a little bit harder to find. Now, granted, I am already married, so the best guy out there is already taken. Thank you. Appreciate it. And it's just, yes, I'm taken. So, unfortunately, I can't help you in that aspect. But are there good men out there? Yeah, you're just gonna have to search a little bit harder for them. Now, let me give you two areas in which you might be able to find somebody decent, or at least you have some decent odds. I'll put it that way. Okay. Number one is the military. Okay. Now, let me say this. You want to get somebody that's been in the military maybe a handful of years and got their training and everything else, and they're getting out. So they've experienced, some good discipline, got a good work ethic, and then now they're getting out to find themselves a good job. All right, so that would be good because you probably have somebody that's got his head on straight and this and the other. Now you don't want to get a guy that's been in the military too long. So if you with a guy that's been in the military like say 12, 15 years, maybe going on 20, all right, he's gonna be a little salty. And take it from me, I'm a veteran, and I can tell you that that stuff does work, or you have relationships that do work. I got my boy Dave, him and his wife's been together that long, in the military, and that worked out. And my other boy Gutter, his wife Kelly, they've been together, and but it so there's some decent relationships out there that's made it marriage, but it's very few and far between. So you don't want to get a military guy that's been a little bit too long that might be a little salty, and he might be barking at you. And I know when I transitioned out of the military, and my wife, came to me. She said, "Let me explain something to you here, Chief. I'm not one of your buddies, and I sure as hell are not one of your troops. So you're not going to sit there and bark at me and cuss, cuss." And then we wasn't like cussing her out. We just have bad language because it's like a normal word like the and is and whatever else, and you could an F-bomb or a MFer or a whatever. It's kind of the same thing. But she laid it down to me. She's like, "Hey, I'm not playing that game. So you can just cut that out." So I was like, "Well, okay." So again, you don't want to get you a man that's been in the military too long, is a little salty. So where's another place you can probably find a good guy? Now another kind of person you can find that usually turns out pretty decent is a good old boy. Now, what do I mean by a good old boy? Well, so if you're looking for country people, you got two. You got kind of three. You got hillbillies, you got rednecks, and you got good old boys. Now, hillbillies are back in the woods, and you hardly really see them that much. They're kind of like hermits. Then you got the rednecks. The rednecks are the ones that, sit there and, usually blow their paycheck on, a couple cases of beer and a seafood buffet, and usually end up mouthing off and getting their ass kicked. And they're usually jackasses. So you don't want to go with the redneck either, right? But a good old boy. Now, a good old boy is a country boy that was, his mama raised him right. He's got a good work ethic. Could be a farmer, may not want to be a farmer. Maybe his parents are farmers, whatever, and he wants to do something else. But he's still been raised in, in that environment to where, he understands work ethic and he respects his mom and he respects women, and he's a hard worker and doesn't mind dropping a few elbows when shit hits the fan. See, that's another thing, ladies, is the issue that I have with a bunch of the guys nowadays. All right. They don't have that. See, if you have a guy, say, my age and maybe some younger, you would be surprised to see once the crap jumps off, the crap's hitting the fan, you'd probably scare the hell out of you. You'd be amazed to see when some of these guys can flick that switch and go into ass-kicking mode really quickly. And so you got it. So now, granted, are they going to end up kicking somebody's ass who's being ignorant? Maybe, maybe not. But at least they're willing to get in there and mix it up. So you have some of the, the beta males or snowflakes. I said they won't even get into the mix. And again, you always try to avoid a fight. I get that. But when crap's hitting the fan and you got to throw down, you at least need a man that's at least going to jump in there. Now, he might get his ass kicked. I'm not saying that, but at least he's willing to jump in the fray. You got a lot of guys nowadays here that, man, they won't even mess with it, and they're getting their ass kicked. And their girlfriend's getting her ass kicked, or his wife's getting her ass kicked, and he's just like trying to piece it out, man. So, but a good old boy would be one that would be ready to throw down. Now, the drawback to that is if you deal with the good old boy, you're going to have to be able to tolerate that music. Now, me for one, in no way, shape, or form can I stand country music at all. At all. I can't stand any of it. It just, I can't stand it. Now, I'm not looking for a good old boy to date. If that is something you could either tolerate, or maybe that's your jam. Maybe you love country music and don't mind rolling with it. Hey, off you go, and hey, hit it all day and twice on Sunday. But you're going to have to deal with country music. And they might get into some southern rock or something, but we'll see. And again, I'm stereotyping or overgeneralizing. Some of them might listen to some good stuff like, heavy metal and whatnot, or even something even really awesome like Reap the Light. If you've never heard that band, go check them out. But yeah, so a good old boy is probably a safe bet. Your odds are much higher in dealing and getting somebody halfway decent than they are with some of the other genres, or not genres, but other categories of men. Excuse me, like you might get, I don't know, like a city dude, and I don't know, a lot of them are kind of superficial and, again, generalizing, and a lot of them are about keeping up appearances, so it might be more about how you look or what's this and the other than it is about you. But I guess you're gonna have to find out. So Diane, I wish there was I could just point you this way and say go right over there, and you're gonna find a plethora of good men. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to weed through the jackasses and knuckleheads, which there are more of, to find yourself a good one. And so that's another thing is to say is usually if you get in with the good old boys, usually that good old boy will come out there and he'll ask you about something to be respectful. Whereas if you got one of in the city where you got one of hey this guy, he's go up there and acting like a douchebag, then maybe not so much. But Diane, yeah, I know, and I'll just say this, just for a little advice. Ladies, if you're gonna date a man, right, you might want to go a little bit older, okay? Not like 10 years older, because I think that's getting a little bit out of control. 10 year difference would be my limit, but maybe a handful of years, maybe about 4, maybe 5 years older than you, because then at that point, then the man's maturity level might be closer to yours than somebody your own age. Like I said in the last podcast, men don't mature very well or very quickly, and so if you're looking for, if you're dating a man your age, he's probably considering that you're younger, well, he's probably not going to be that mature, or at least not to your level of what you're looking for. So you might want to go a little older. All right, so just so you get to that maturity level that you're probably more inclined to, that's looking more attractive to you than dating a child, okay? Because you will find some immature adults. I mean, hell, I'm immature, but I'm not a child. I still take care of business, and I know if I got to throw down. I still raise my kids. I still have people dependent on me for, work and this, that, and the other, and who I manage and this, that, and the other. So I'm not a child, but I have a childlike innocence and immaturity. Because, like I said, farts are always funny. All right. So, yeah, so date yourself a little older. A man that's a little older. A little bit. Not a lot. Not where you get not like these Hollywood people where they're dating people like 30 years younger. So look, so that means when you were 30 years old, that person was just being born. Think about it. That's sick. That's a little forget that. I don't care what you say, that ain't right. All right, but anyway, so Diane, I hope you find a guy, and she didn't. So you know what? Write back to me and let me know where you are. Like, are you? I don't know. Are you in New York or Los Angeles somewhere, or somewhere in between, or I don't know where you are. Just write back. Let me know you're located. Be curious to where you're searching for guys and you're not being able to find any. I'd be curious about that. And you don't have to tell me your age, but kind of give me a ballpark so I know. Also, like, what age range you are, and kind of what you're looking for, or what you're searching as far as age-wise. But I do appreciate your email. And what are we looking at? We're looking at about 24 minutes, so I guess we're probably good to go. Let me see. I wonder if I could bring it up, because what I want to do real quick. Let me see if I can bring this up, and what I'm going to go over just a few. Just to give you guys a little tidbit here of what some of the other. So I'm every time I get an idea, I write it down of what I'm looking to do as far as podcast wise. All right. So some of the ideas I got coming on, or have at least started putting down for ideas. Happiness, what makes you happy? Life versus work, making a living versus working for the way you live. So that all has to do with happiness. Another one is depression, and talking about depression, talking about the coping mechanism, causes, signs, taking blame for maybe somebody that has committed suicide that was dealing with depression. We're going to talk about that. Another one we're talking about is qualities of a long marriage. Communication, humor, having your own space. This one I want to talk to definitely with my wife, because this one's pretty good, because people change, especially if you're with them for a while. So we want to talk about, who it is that you married, and are they different now? And if you deal with just surface issues, or if you deal with surface love, as I call it, like you're infatuated by them or whatever, then the deeper things are going to be harder to find. So we'll talk about that. I don't want to go through that now. Raising kids alone. Now, when I talk about that, is not so much in single mothers, a single parent, but it's the point of, and again, this will be a topic when I'm with my wife, because I'm talking about with kids in school, like lack of parent involvement, kids feeling like they're not loved, health and mental problems, which comes out definitely in the classroom, which my wife sees all the time. Another one is girls in STEM, which is what is STEM is crap. I think it's science, technology, engineering, and math, I think. So girls in STEM. I want to find out if there's this myth that society pushes girls away from STEM, if most of the teachers in school are women, most of the professors in college are liberal, so they're supposed to be supporting women. So where is that coming from? Is it a societal pressure? So we're going to talk about that. Raising kids alone and parents' involvement. It's kind of been the same thing. I kind of wrote those different, but I don't know. Parents' involvement with kids is another subject I want to talk to my wife about, because she gets nuts. Because it seems like the parents nowadays are selfish. They don't engage with the kids at dinner. They don't engage with them at school. And like when you go to a restaurant and you see them immediately put a screen right in front of their kid, and then they turn their back on, they ignore the kid the whole thing. So anyway, women's rights, talking about fighting for running, and what they're looking to do. I think this one we'll talk to my wife about. It'd be kind of funny, because they always talk about how they need women, or more women should be running top corporations, but they never talk about women having more bricklaying jobs, or plumber's jobs, or roto-rooter, where they're sucking out porta potties. Just saying. A couple more. Now, teaching kids about the 80s, because we know the 80s was the best decade ever on the planet, and ever in the history of time. So teaching kids about the 80s. Another one's called what? Men's selective hearing. We're going to talk about that. And men and women, sense of humor differences. Rom-coms versus the Three Stooges. Talk about that. Also, part of what we talked about there, but a little bit more into it, is a man supposed to be a man anymore? What is a man? What does society believe is a man? How is a man supposed to act nowadays? And we also want to talk. I also want to talk about possibly transgenderism, only for the fact that they had, was it Leah Thompson? I guess her name is Leah. Is that her name? Anyway, the transgender swimmer from Penn State, who Penn State is now named the women's sport, or the sport woman of the year, NCAA women's sport of the year. And it's like, okay, she's not even a woman. Okay, I don't, we'll discuss that, but again, physiologically, it's a man. And I don't care if you're taking estrogen, you still have the bone structure, the muscle structure. Anyway, we'll talk about that. So there you go. Those are some upcoming subjects. And I think we are now at 29 minutes, so I think it's a good time to shut this bad boy down. So this is Gary from Life Lessons from a Neanderthal podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, please subscribe, and you can subscribe on Anchor, Spotify, or you can go to YouTube and hit that up, and please subscribe there and hit the notification bell so that way you'll be alerted whenever a new podcast comes out on YouTube. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for joining me. And again, like I said, neanderthallife.podcast@gmail.com, and send me a line, send me an email, let me know what you think about it, if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions on topics. And I respond back to every email that I get. So I'm going to let you know that now. So if you send me an email, I will definitely respond. Or even if you do a comment on YouTube, I will respond. Okay. So that's that. That's all the housekeeping. Thanks for joining me. I love you guys. I'll see you next week. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Bye.